And so anyway. You have a cape or something?
Yeah.
Sounds a good guitar player. Okay, this is the Dovitul. This is one of the Nigunim Dovitul recorded, and he sings much better than I do, but anyway.
No such thing.
Yeah. I tell you what, not only that, I owe you this niggin. You know why? I made it up a Shana Rabba by Hallel.
Oh, yeah.
When you recorded it and then you played it back to me. Yeah. No, let's go. Let's make it see better. No, wait, can you put it on? On C. No, on B. On the second. What happened?
It's rubbing a little bit. I'll change it.
Okay, let's go. Jump the
Where?
You sure just get here also? Hey, Dovitul. Hoch auf der Keulen, Gewalt. שובי נפשי במנוחייכי כי השם גמל עולייכי גמל עולייכי שובי נפשי במנוחייכי Hashem, Gomal Olaychi, Gomal Olaychi, Kivilato, Nafshi Mimo, Vezeze, Nimidimo, Ezra, Li Ezra, Nimi, Dechi, Rai 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 Tichelато nafshi mimo vezeze nimidim o ezrag ezrag nimi dechi shuvi nafshi Hashem, Gomal Olaychi, Gomal Olaychi. Da 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 ay da 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 Rai 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 ai Okay, Mama, thank you. Hadassah, hi, darling. Haven't seen you in 2,000 years. How you doing, David? Okay? Okay. No, you know, Chodesh Nisan is Mamash Rosh Hashanah. But it's the sweetest Rosh Hashanah in the world. How do you know which is a good doctor? If someone needs an injection, have you ever seen like a fake doctor puts a needle here, then there, and it's not, this arm is no good, try the other one. And then he says, no, let's put it somewhere else. You know? The Moshe Rebbe once said, how do you know who is a good driver? It comes to a U-turn, when you go straight, every driver is good. But we come to a U-turn, right? Because here, there, till never kids have shokol, you know? Your kish is going over. A good driver makes a U-turn. You know, Rosh Hashanah, it's so heavy, Gewalt, right? On Chodesh Nisan, it is so good, right? It's mamish, it's mamish a new year. And everything is good. Anyway, good Chodesh. Anyway, okay, where are we now? Oh, here's Sefer. I'm sure you learned it better than I will ever learn it, so don't expect anything, okay? Okay, before I even begin, you know, let me just give you a few things. There's a Gewalt story. His name is Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Bolin. He was Roshiva in Volozhin. Anybody who knows anything about the Torah knows that he was like the Rebbe of all the Rebbes, right? Like the Torah of the last 150 years, not to be believed, you know. It was like, and sad enough, and yeshiva closed. It's a long story. But besides all the sforim he gave out the Sefer Hemek Dova on Chumash, which was very precious to him. On the day the Sefer came out, he made a big feast. And he told the story that when he was little, his father was a tailor. He was very poor. So his father wanted him also to be a good tailor. So when he was about 11, 12, his father was preparing him to become a good tailor. But he didn't want to be a tailor. So one day, mamish on his own, he ran off. He went to yeshiva and learned, right? So he says he had a Gewalt dream that he became a tailor. He was a good tailor. Comes up to heaven. He's a good tailor. He goes to paradise. Right? But before it goes into paradise, they say, we want to show you something. We want to show you something. You know. So angels come, and they roll in all this forum which you could have written if you would have gone to learn Torah, right? And they told them, look what you missed out. And it hurt him so much in the dream. Look what I could have been. I could have been a light to Israel for all generations to come. So it was a cute tale. And he says, and from great pain he woke up. So he decided, if God gave him the privilege not to be a tailor, but to come out with the book, he has to make a feast. I want you to know something very deep. I need a strong walker to get rid of this cold. It's so crazy. Schlepping after me, I'm trying to throw it off, and it loves me so much, doesn't leave me. You never know who loves you, right? L'chaim. Yom Kippur, I was learning a little bit last night, but even stronger today. On Yom Kippur, I'm dealing with the whole Torah, right? The Torah says, don't eat the hamburger on Yom Kippur. I'm sorry, God, I will tell you the truth. I was in a bad mood, I ate a hamburger. Shabbos, I'm not supposed to drive a car. What can I do? I had a date with this girl, and I thought maybe it's a shidduch, it's very, very important. I drove down. Okay, I'm dealing with dinim of the Torah, right? I'm not really dealing with mamish, humble me, right? Pesach, the whole thing is in my house. It's in my house. See, if my neighbor has chomet, it's not my business. Yeah, maybe I should Shcheina Hakov, I should tell him, but it's my house. That means Pesach is mamish, my own house, my own life. And I have to be by the chomets in my life, the deepest depths of my life. What's wrong with me, right? But before God can tell me what's wrong with me, he has first to show me what's good with me, right? Listen, if I tell a person who walks on all four, why do you walk on all four? First I have to show him a person who walks on two, right? So before I can even tell a person what's wrong with you, first I have to show you where you can be. And this is awesome. So we'll learn it inside a few minutes. First it says, Oil Abos. The great light is shining on the 14th. You know what light before B'dikas Chometz at night? That night God is showing you where you could be. God is showing you your own roots, where you reach, right? Where you're reaching. Let me tell you on a very simple level. Let me ask you, do we ever know how much we mean to other people? We don't know, right? So you're my friend, I love you, you love me, like, it's all beautiful. Imagine if God would reveal to me how much I mean to this other person. Gewalt would I be careful. Gewalt would I be careful. Awesome, right? Let me tell you something very, very deep. You know, let's assume there's one Moishel in the world I can't stand. And one of my side hobbies is to say bad things about Moishel. That's you. Then one day it would be revealed to me prophetically that this Moishel loves me so much. I would die from shame. I would die from shame. Gewalt. How come I'm so unsensitive? You know? Gewalt. Where do I stand? Where do I stand? I want you to know one more thing. Let's say, imagine Heilig Reb David or the Rebbe Meir would tell me, listen, I want to talk to you. Yes, I'll be on my toes, right? Someone important wants to talk to me, right? He wants to talk to me. Imagine if it would be clear to me every morning that the Rebbe Shem, the Master of the world, wants me to talk to him in the morning. Would be mamish clear to me, right? Humanly speaking, the Rebbe Shem, like the Zohar Kodesh says, the Rebbe Shem is mamish waiting for every Yid to daven Shachar. Would I just knock off the davening? I wouldn't be able to do it, right? Let's assume husband and wife, right? You wake up in the morning and say good morning, you know. How do most parents say good morning to their children? Most don't say it, and if they do, they say good morning. Imagine it would be clear to them that the children in their dreams are waiting for the morning for their parents to tell them good morning. But imagine my child is already grown up, and suddenly, prophetically, I get a message from heaven. Do you know that the whole life of your child, he or she was waiting for you to tell them one time a gewalt good morning? It would be impossible to live after that. And if I would live, it would be a miracle, right? Gewalt, what I could have done. So you see, the deepest depth is, imagine if I had this unbelievable prophecy that my child was waiting all those years for me to tell him or tell her good morning properly, right? And now she's ready, let's say 30 years old. I wouldn't be able to bear it. But imagine if at the same moment of another prophecy, or why don't you tell them good morning right now? And it'll fix everything. It'll fix everything. All you have to do right now, just say it. And it's so easy. You know what I mean to say? It is deeper than doing tshuva. It is deeper than doing tshuva. I'm not standing the night before Pesach, no. You know what I'm going to do? And I just want to tell you outside first what he says. The night before Pesach, God is shining into me where I'm reaching my roots. That means where I am reaching, humanly speaking, in God's heart. You know what roots are? The long string, right? And I shackle the string here, right? But it's shackling up there, 2 million miles up there, right? You know what it says? Yaakov chevel nachlosai. Yaakov, a little yideli here. You know the Chassidut says, a yid who doesn't believe that I put my yarmulke from the right to left, I'm turning over heaven and earth, doesn't know what Yiddishkeit is. So on one hand, it shows me where I'm reaching. And then I realize I did everything wrong. But you know what it shows me also? All you have to do, there is one crumb chomet you have to get rid of. Doesn't cost anything, no pain. There is one little crumb inside of you which has to be thrown out. That's it. And you know what it means? It's even deeper than Yom Kippur. I don't have to do tshuva and a promise. I'm not promising anything. But while I'm looking for the chometz, and you see the chometz is my chometz, and you'll tell me, where does it say Shulchan Aruch that this is chometz? You know it's chometz, right? You know it's chometz. I want you to know one of the greatest things in my life, which Mamash gave me a taste of Shabbos, when the Holy Bob Rebbe came the first time to America, he was the first Rebbe who came after the war. Unbelievable, right? I mean, what a privilege. First of all, he saved thousands of Yid. He saved thousands of babies because he was dressed as a Polish officer, and he was working in Nazi headquarters. I think I shared with you. Every morning in a helicopter, they would fly over all the concentration camps in Poland and inspect if everything is, if the gas chambers, if smoke's coming out, go out. Can you imagine, Mamish? He was sitting there right next to the Nazi general, supervising. But he could go into concentration camps whenever he wanted to. Brought out hundreds of babies. He was caught 127 times. Like a Holy Mother saw, 127 times. But anyway, what I want to tell you is, what I remember forever is the first time I saw him. He davened, and after the davening, the way he said Good Shabbos. Until that moment, never seen anybody saying Good Shabbos. Besides Moshe Good Shabbos, which is a different parsha, right? Shabbos, right? I think I shared with you, when, I have a twin brother, I had a twin, I guess, actually, 2 days ago was a Yortzeit, and we were little kids then. I'm 15 years old. So he took my hand or my brother's hand between his two hands. He looked at us and he says, we know each other from last lifetime. Gewalt, right? Rabbis don't talk like this always, right? Special moment. But the way he said Good Shabbos to us, I was always talking to my brother, if you have a little taste in Shabbos, it's from the Good Shabbos of the Baba Rabbi, right? So imagine my whole life I didn't say Good Shabbos properly. So Seder night, it's clear to me, get rid of your chometz in there, right? That's it. You know what that means? What kept you from being the way you're supposed to be is not 10,000 million tons of garbage, which you have to get rid of. One little crumb. Okay, now let's learn inside. Ma shezua mesechta maschilas b'milas oya. Why is Aram, you coming? You coming in? Yeah. Okay, why is this mesechta of Pesach? I'm sorry. Why is this mesechta of Pesach beginning with the word light? Hu kubazeh achak me'er shemizboch le'ena odom sheyakir mekoima v'sheroshay mamish on Pesach. When I have to look for my chometz, the first thing God has to show me my roots. And God is showing me my place in the world, where I could be. And then the Yerem Fush Shoresh Chesroina. And then suddenly, mamish, it's clear to me, not only my roots in heaven, also the roots of my chometz. What's keeping me? What's keeping me from being the way I'm supposed to be? And here comes the deepest Torah in the world. Why, and again I'll say it first outside and learn inside. There's an unbelievable Torah in the Oisteshe from the brother of the Beis Yaakov. Do you know on Pesach we have to bring a chatas, a sin offering. So he asked the deepest question in the world. Last night we got out of Egypt. I mean, how much sinning do you have time to do, say the night? Even if you're an expert on sin, right? Like some of us. So the next morning you're ready, you have to bring a sin offering? So he says the deepest Torah in the world. That night, when we got out of Egypt, we could have brought Mashiach. The gates were open. The gates were open. We were so happy to get out of Egypt that we didn't ask for more. I'm getting out of Egypt. You know, it was suddenly so clear to me. You know, during the 6-day war, when we came back to Yerushalayim, we could have asked Rabbi Shlomo, bring Mashiach. At that moment, the gates were open. We were so happy that Goran blew the shofar by the Holy Wall, and Moshe Dayan was a great general. We were so happy. That's it. Why didn't you ask for more? You know, there's a Torah in Beis Yaakov, another place, which is so deep and so real. Okay, imagine Rab Miki and Rab Dovidel want to get some money for Yakar, so finally you have an interview with Brother Rothschild, right? So Rabbi Rosen and Rabbi Zeller coming to Paris to meet Brother Rothschild. Gewalt. So Rothschild says, I'm very much impressed with your work, and what can I give? What can I give? What can I give you, right? So do little things, you know. I don't want to be a pig, you know, take away all his money. What should I say? So he says, you know what? Give me $50,000. Rothschild says, I wanted to give you $2 million. I wanted to give you $2 million. Right? You see what it is? On Yom Kippur, I'm giving God a schedule what I want. You know why I have to tell him exactly what I want? Because the doors are not that much open. It's still a supermarket. You tell God, I want this, I want this. God says, let's open your account, how much credit you have, and we'll see what's going on. Did you pay last year's bill? Okay, we'll bargain it out, right? Seder night is a completely different story. Seder night, the gates of heaven are so open that God wants to give you everything. Mamish everything. So why didn't you take it? One of the last Torahs, the Friedrich Lubavitcher Rebbe said, you know, he passed away, Mamish Chusa Jungelene, he passed away Yud Shvat, and the last tish he had was Yutis Kislev. It was awesome, you know. Later on we realized it was Mamish telling us his last will. But at that moment we didn't know. One of the things he says, we are always coming to God like beggars. What's a beggar on the street asking? A quarter, $1. If he has Gewalt Chutzpah, he says, give me $5. He says, we are not beggars. We're not homeless people. Why did he ask God for everything? He says, can you imagine the son of Rothschild is standing on a street corner begging for a quarter? We should ask your father, you know, for everything. The Rabbi wants to give us everything. Why are we so small? So here comes the Torah. And you see what it is? Every Pesach, the gates are open, and God wants to give us everything. And hopefully, every year, we are fixing our vessels just a little bit more. And the closer we get to Mashiach, hopefully, God gives us more. שבאמס כל הטובה שהבטיח שמצוו לישראל כבר ניתן להם. שהרבה הבטחות נראה בלא שנובה. This is the deep story of the world. The Ishbitzer says, not God, only God wants to give it to you. He gave it to you already. It's already in my account. It's just lying there. I'm sorry, what? It's in my account already. God forwarded it to my account in the Holy Bank, right? So why don't I see it? Because it's so dark. It's unbelievable. So you hear what he says. The light is an unbelievable, like two sides. On one side, on one hand, God is showing me who I am, right? And then God is showing me also what I have. And you have it. You have it all. Let's put it this way. I'm learning Gemara and I say, Rabbi Shlomo, please, I would like to know this page. On Pesach, you can say to God, I would like to know the whole Shas tonight. Why not? You see, Shavuos, I was learning it last night, if you remember, Shavuos is, the Torah is down to this world. In this world, first you learn Aleph Beis, you learn one sentence, then you read a chapter, you read another book. It's a slow process because God created the world in 6 days. Takes a little while. Pesach is not on the level of Shabbos. We're mochas of Shabbos, right? Shabbos is no time. No time. See, what I'm learning Seder night is not words. I'm not sitting Seder night and learn Steinmarks and Metalis. And again, remember we were learning last night, the Haggadah was written by the Novi. Novi lives forever. And you know what this forever does not mean only he'll live forever 2 million years from now. He lives forever every second. He lives forever every second. It means every second is awesome. So he says on Seder night, that means the night before the Seder, God lets me know where I reach. God lets me know my place in the world, it's all one. And God lets me know it's all there already. You know why am I opening the door till your novice Seder night? Because it's clear to me, is standing by the door, wants to come in. All year long, I'm not aware of it. Then one more thing. The most important thing, do you know what God needs you for? Do you know which is the one mitzvah which connects you to God? Every person has to keep the whole Torah. But there is one mitzvah which is the mitzvah of my neshama. It's one thing. Sometimes you see a person, maybe their mitzvah is davening, right? Then you meet another person, maybe their big mitzvah is to do favors to others. Maybe one person, his biggest mitzvah is to go to hospitals to visit people. That doesn't mean he doesn't have to put on film. Yeah, but this is this is his mitzvah, right? Do you know all the Rebbes? Every Rebbe had one Masechta, was his Masechta. As much as they knew every word of the Torah. You know the Holy Sanzer, his Masechta was Bo Metzir. He learned 20 years Bo Metzir. Unbelievable, God, can you imagine what level, right? Awesome, right? The Heilige Rob Shitzer learned Masechta Sukkah all his life. There's an unbelievable story. The Kotzker Rebbe called somebody in. He says, I want you to know one Masechta by heart. So he thought he'll be very clever. The smallest Masechta is Masechta Horayitz, right? Only 12 pages. He comes back and he says, Mama should all live long. Says, Rebbe, I learned Masechta Horayitz by heart. Kotzker Rebbe says, Aye. Do you know, Chas Shon was decreed in heaven you should leave the world. So I prayed you out so you shouldn't leave the world until you know one Masechta by heart. If you would have taken Masechta Bava Basra, has 172 pages, you could have lived for another 10 years. Right? It's unbelievable, right? You know, sometimes we think we are so clever. We are fooling God. We're never fooling God. We're only fooling ourselves. Okay, Seder night, Mamish, I see my place in the world. Why am I a little bit sad inside? We all are sad inside. Imagine I have $1 million in the bank in Switzerland, but I don't know the name of the bank. Heartbreaking, right? I schlep myself like a schlepper, and I have $1 million, I don't know where it is, right? Seder night, the night before the Seder, God lets me know the name of my bank in heaven. Where this mitzvah is, which opens all the gates for me. See, the moment I would know exactly my roots, the moment I would know exactly my connection, where my connection is, let's assume, suddenly would be clear to me that my deepest connection to God is Shabbos. Then I will know right away that Masechta Shabbos my Masechta, right? Or let's assume something else. Maybe my way of serving God is by fasting. Masechta Tanis, right? Or imagine it's clear to me suddenly that my biggest thing is Pesach. So that I will know, Mamish, to learn Masechta Pesach, right? And also, you know why I'm so sad? Because I don't know how to fix my past. I don't know how to fix everything. But you see, this one mitzvah, which I'm supposed to do, this one Masechta, which I'm supposed to learn, this is my key. Remember, we're learning a lot of times, how do I know which is the key to the door? Very simple. If you have to quetch 100 times till it opens, it's not the key, right? If it's a real key, no problem, right? I put it in, now open it, right? You know why we have so much trouble opening our hearts? Because I'm opening it with the wrong key, right? Imagine my Masechta is Psochim, and I'm sitting there quetching Bo Metzir. Hey, it doesn't go. I break the key, and Chas V'Shalom knows what. So this is what it is. We go from one good thing to the other, right? You know, most of us, we don't have our act together because we don't know what we're supposed to do, right? This is Gewalt. כמו פרנסה כדומה, וגם כמחמש לבוא על חסכון הנסקנה. And this is the deepest steps in the world, really. How does Parnasa come? I'm sure you know it anyway. I always think, I have the store, and I believe 100% that it's not really the store, it's God who's helping me with the store, but regardless, it's a store and I get money through it. Which is true. 100% true. But you see what it is? I forget sometimes Parnasa doesn't start in this world. Parnasa is a mamash gewalt energy coming down from heaven. Gewalt, right? Sometimes the helicopter comes down, bringing me Parnasa. Sometimes it's 747, right? Sometimes a Concorde. Maybe it's a missile, right? I don't know, right? And you know why I have so much trouble with Parnasa? Because I don't know my roots. I'm completely off my roots. But you see, I'm sure you know this, we think in heaven they're just flying around there. They're mamish away, right? Mamish, an airplane is like a highway. And sometimes an airplane shockers when it comes up a certain altitude because it's not on that highway yet, right? Till it reaches that highway where it's mamish like on a street, right? Once I had the privilege of sitting next to a pilot from United Airlines, was a gewalt, and he was mamish explaining me everything, though, as much as I was able to fathom, right? But this is what he told me. You see, you just see air. You're not a maven what's going on in heaven, right? The streets. He said, let's say, for instance, he says, from New York to Israel, there's a highway. There's a street. There is a street in heaven from New York to Tel Aviv, right? But sometimes, till the airplane gets on it, shock us a little bit. But when it's on it, see what it is? There is like, for me to heaven, there's a highway. And my Parnasa, my helicopter, or my 747, this is the way from heaven, right? But if I'm not connected to my roots, then the Parnasa also doesn't reach me. Everything doesn't come in the right place. And here I want you to open your heart the deepest way. When we ate from the tree of knowledge, God says, you'll eat your food with sadness. It was not a punishment. It was just a fact. Because that food from the tree of knowledge was not from my roots, right? It didn't come from the highway from God to me, right? Remember, we're learning it a lot of times, and I don't want to go over it again. Remember, but it's so good to have to tell you again, in case you weren't there. The first teaching Moshe Rabbeinu gives us after we stood on Mount Sinai, he says, if someone steals, if you remember, a little bit heartbreaking, right? I expected something else. The first teaching after Moshe comes down from heaven, I expected a talk. What is God, right? Or the importance of God in your personal life. Or the importance of being a Jew, right? Something. So how does he begin? If someone stole and he can't pay, then you have to sell him as a slave and you have to let him go after 6 years. Really. First of all, it really never happened. But besides everything else, really. I'm so high now after Mount Sinai. But you know what the Ishbitzer says? Actually, the Zohar Kodesh. The first thing is to fix Adam and Eve. You know, the tree of knowledge was not their tree. Think about it. When they ate from the tree of knowledge, it was stolen food. It's awesome, right? And they can't pay. They can't pay. So therefore they are sold into slavery. I said, oh, that's all right. But yet God promises after 6 years, first it means like 6 years when Mashiach is coming, or on Shabbos, this is really not important. The important part I want you to know, the tree of knowledge is not our food. So he says, everybody knows Pesach is the fixing of the tree of knowledge. That means Pesach, matzah is called Michle de Asvosa, the healing food. Want you to know something? If someone tells you, if you're on a diet or anything with health food, matzah, I don't buy that. Matzah is mamish michle de asvos. It's the most healing food in the world. And even if you don't know, if you don't feel it, never, you're not on the level yet. Imagine someone is very sick, and I give him some strong medicine. He says, I don't feel anything. Forget it. I'm a doctor, I'm telling you. The Rabbi Shlomo, the emes doctor, the Roy Cholim, he says to us, matzah is good for you. Last year there was someone in my shul, he says, hen matzah is too heavy, and he refused. It was not a heavy, Someone saw my name in the newspaper, he wants to come for the same. Hey, Sister Mimi's here. Have no fear. You hear, friends? Yomtiv, hey, Yomtiv. So you hear, friends, you know what's so special about matzah? Matzah, the matzah which I'm eating is mamish coming down on my highway. The only thing God asked me one thing. Before I give you that matzah, you have to get rid of the chametz. Because chametz, chametz, there's nothing bad with chametz, and I can eat it all year long. But on Pesach, when I begin my life again, and just be aware of one thing. Because the deepest question of the world is, isn't it important to know what's right and what's wrong? What's wrong with the tree of knowledge? And I hope you remember this is a must Torah. And if nobody should eat it, why did God create the tree? But the answer is very simple. We were supposed to eat first from the tree of life, and then the tree of knowledge. Because the first feast, Adam was created on Friday, and the first feast was supposed to be Friday night, the tree of life. Do you know that all the tzaddikim, especially in Chernobyl, do you know that all the big tzaddikim, especially in Chernobyl, one of the biggest fixings they would give out to the chassidim is fasting on Friday. Because what was the mistake of Adam and Eve? They didn't want to wait until Friday night to eat the tree of life. So the fixing is I'm fasting. I have time till Shabbos, right? So you see, when I eat the food, which is my food, and I'm not talking about health food because this is not what I'm talking about now. Mamish, the food which is mamish meant for me. Mamish meant for me. Then I eat with so much simcha. See, when I eat stolen food, I'm not besimcha, right? When I eat food which is mamish, my food, sent down for me on the highway from heaven, it's so good, right? Let's put it this way. I'm going to a Chinese restaurant and I'm eating soup. It's good soup. Am I sitting there and blowing my mind with joy? No, because it's not my soup. I eat it. But imagine I'm coming home and my wife and my children make me some soup. Oh, it's so good, right? Because the soup is mamish made for me, right? Matzah is something else, right? You know what it is to be in exile? To be in exile, you have everything, but it's not really yours. You know what Eretz Yisrael is? It's mamish ours. I can live in Dallas and be a frum Yid, even go to paradise, but you didn't live in your own house. Eretz Yisrael is mamish my house, right? Pesach is my house. Why are you always worried about Parnassah? Why are we so worried? Because basically I'm not connected to the highway where my Parnassah is coming from. That's always a miracle if I get something. Because it's, imagine, God forbid, if suddenly the machine doesn't work in the airplane and it's flying around there. It's to be a miracle if it finds the airport, right? See, if my highway is not in contact, how do you get your Parnassah? And I feel it inside. So I'm always worried. But when I'm connected, I'm not worried. Now listen to this. Why is it when we came out of Egypt we were not worried about food? It's crazy. You don't know where your bagel is coming tomorrow morning. Why should I worry? The one who's feeding me is sending it to me. It's all right. No problem. See, Pesach, not only spiritually and so to speak, religiously, am I finding my place in the world? What's happening to me in the deepest depths, that I'm re-establishing my tzina, my connection, where my Parnassah is coming from. אלא עושה את השם יסבור, יוי אורי יסבור, נראה מפוש, שאף בהחוישה גם כן כיוון עוד השם יסבור. Oh, now we go one step deeper. What will happen when Mashiach is coming? When Mashiach is coming, what God will show us, that even when we thought we were off, in the deepest depths we weren't off either. We were never off. Because how is it possible that a Jew should be off? You know, how is it possible that a Jew should be off and God is watching us so much? You know what it means, Leil Shimurim Hul Hashem? That night it's clear to us how much God is watching us. But first I establish my highway, right? And then suddenly it's clear to me. While I eat the matzah, then I realize, mamish, it was really always my highway. In a certain deep way. ורק בעולם הזה שעדיין נסתר יסבוך, ואין עוד המקים בשרושה שיוכל לסכם סכם שיש בשרושה, שזה המוקר שממנו יוכל לנבוא כל החסכנס. ובזה אחר כך, and on this yontif, may Hashem Yisborach, God is shining into us, שיוכל להקים את קומה בשרושי. I recognize my place and my roots. והוא בו על שורש חסכנה, and suddenly it's clear to me, where is this little piece of chumetz? Where is this little stupid thing which prevents me from being what I'm supposed to be? ומזה יש לו שמחה גדולה. That's the greatest thing. I just saw somewhere in one of those magazines, a woman writes she was very sick. It's not important if it's true or not, but this is what she writes. She was very, very sick, went to all the doctors, and then she met a peasant. And the peasant told her, you know what, every morning the first thing you have to do, you have to eat a raw garlic. And after 30 days she was cured, right? You know what that means? It's a little chumash. You just need a little garlic, right? You need something. You don't need an operation. You don't need who knows what. A small thing. God is showing to me on Pesach. ולזה מתחיל עשו המסכת באויר. שעוז מהשם יסבורך אין ובו יסבורך כבר נוסע מכל הטייבס. I want you to know how deep this is. You know, I always think I lost something on my way. Friends, you know why we're so sad inside? We lost so much. You know what the biggest simcha in the world is? When God is shining into me, it's still there. It's still there. Because God doesn't let you lose anything. There's another Torah in Bes Yakar, he says, imagine I have a child, and I give my child $1 million, and then the child is playing with $1 million, slowly, the money is falling out. And then the child realized, God, I lost $1 million. And the father says, listen, I walked behind you. I picked it up all the time, I have it. It's right here, right? You know what is Leil Shimurim? A night of guarding? That God gives us back everything we lost. Everything we lost. So you see, this is unbelievable. Now listen to this. The night before the Seder, I see my roots. And I know where I'm supposed to be. And then I see what I did wrong. And I see how much I lost because of the chumetz. And I'm trying to get rid of the chumetz in the worst way, right? Okay, I burn the chumetz. Then comes Seder night, Leil Shimurim. Then God shows me you didn't lose anything. You didn't lose anything. Mamash have it. And you see what it is? See, on Yom Kippur, I say, Rabbi Shem, I'll do tshuva, and then I'll be, hopefully, a holy person. On Pesach, it's a completely different thing. On Pesach, God is shining into me that I was always the holiest person in the world. I was always there. I was always there. You see, the night of Seder, it's clear to me in the deepest, deepest, deepest depths. The moment I'm tasting, Mashiach is here already. Mashiach is here. I want you to know something. In a certain deep way. Okay, this is the deepest. What is the greatest sin in the world? And what is the most hurting thing in the world? You know what hurts most? To be an outsider. Most heartbreaking thing in the world, right? Now take the world today. People are married, they have a wife, they have children, they have husbands. Well, an outsider. How many people come home and they're outsiders in their own home? You know what the saddest thing in the world is? A Yid to come to shul feels like an outsider. He goes to a movie, he feels at home. He goes to a nightclub, hears some dirty jokes, he feels at home. Comes to shul, outsider. You know how the evil forces in the world are called? They're not called evil forces, they're called chitzonim, outsiders. They're not inside. The depths of a Yid is, I'm an insider. So therefore he says, you know how much it takes from an insider to an outsider? It's just one crumb. Mashu. Let me tell you something. I meet this girl, she's beautiful, I like her, but I'm not made in love with her. You know why? Because there's a mashu. There's a little crumb. Nothing wrong. Something. You know why we don't reach the level we're supposed to be on? Why are we outsiders instead of insiders? It's this mashu. Well, you know something awesome, like, this mashu is so deep, It is so small, you can barely see it, mashu, something. I'll tell you something else. Take the good side, right? Sometimes you meet a person, they're gewalt, right? I'll show you the same person, the same thing, but it's not a gewalt. What's the difference? It's this mashu. Can't even put my finger on, but it's mashu. It's something. From inside to outside, where does outside begin? Where does inside begin? There is no border saying, oh, now you're outside, now you're inside. This is mashu. 1/1000th of an inch more, you're inside. 1/100000th of an inch, you're outside. Sometimes we're good friends with somebody, and then suddenly they become outsiders. This mashu, a little bit chumash, doesn't go right. The other way around. Sometimes we are not so close to a person, and then suddenly we are so close, right? Because we got rid of this mashu. Go out, right? Well, I had the privilege, I want to mention names, I can only mention the good. My Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach was gewalt, right? His amkes, the depth, was almost like matzi, like, how deep he was? When he would say, let's say, 1 and 1 is 2, you would die from depth. Because the way he said it was so deep, right? Deep is not the word. But when he said something really deep, it was so heavenly. I remember there was once, in Pagin Dibur, in Gitna and in Ksubis, it's a whole long sugya and Marcus a little bit. There's a big shot from Kibbeege. And all those, the greatest answers, Shaleb Diskin, Rabbi Zalman Rabbi. So then, Rabbi Shlomo gave a shir, and he said, and you know what it is? the way he gave over Rabbi Eger's question was so deep, it suddenly was clear to you that all those answers they don't even know what it's asking, right? And then he gave his answer. I could not believe. But it was not like a little bit, like a few U-turns, straight. Like Mamash, you could see every word of the Gemara is Mamash clear before his holy eyes, I remember I said to him, Rebbe, according to, the Gewalt, but not to be believed. I said, to be sure, this kid was supposed to be the greatest. So he's a Zamra Ober. I said, Mamish, they didn't understand Kveik's Kasha, right? It was, Nebuch, it's a long story, but when his wife was pregnant, there was a pogrom, Nebuch, in Kremetschuk. Nebuch saw, he put his wife on a wagon, and he drove out into the forest because they were almost killing people. And he was alone with her in the forest. And he had mamish nothing with him. And Nebuch, the baby came out, and he had nothing to cut the cord, Nebuch. I don't know, he looked for something in the forest, Nebuch, heartbreaking. First of all, Nebuch, the baby died. And she was injured forever, Nebuch. She couldn't have children. And I've never seen a person giving so much love to his wife like Rabbi Shlomo, like, it was awesome, right? Anyway, so every year, whoever was, like, say, good in his class, he adopted them as his children, and the Rebbetzin, adopted them, So, the last year before I left for Lakewood, I had the privilege, I was mamish like his son a little bit, if I dare say so. And Rebbetzin, was my assistant mother. Anyway, so I'm walking into Rabbi Shlomo and I say, I said, Rebbe, today yeshiva was mamish Mount Sinai, He was always like, on one hand he wasn't stupid, He knew what he was doing, right? He was a Gewalt, but then he said, Shlomo, you shouldn't talk like this, But I saw that he was a little happy I told him, You see what it is? What was the difference between him and all the other Gedolim? Even Rabbi Aaron said Gewalt Teures, but inside, Rabbi Shlomo was inside. Inside of the inside. How much inside, There's something else. By Pesach, everything is in the house. Pesach, I want to be inside. And it's possible to be in your own house and still be an outsider. This little chometz doesn't let me. So therefore he says, you have to be so much medactic for this one crumb. Because when God wants to give me something so heavenly, so beautiful, when I see, let's say I see a homeless person on the street, give him $5. I don't have to be madly in love with this poor man to give him $5, because even if I give him stoke, it's an outside gift, right? A girl will tell me, listen, you gave this poor man $5 without being in love with him. Why can't you give me a wedding ring also without being in love with me? It's a good child, right? The answer is very simple. When I give him $5, it's outside stuff. I give you a ring, it's the inside of the inside of the inside of the inside. And if there's one little crumb doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. I tell you what, the truth is you could learn this for 10 years, but I want to stop here and want to add something to it, if you don't mind, for a few minutes. Chaim. Do you know there is no Yom Tov in the world? There is no Yom Tov in the world. Mama, we are cleaning so much. There is no Yom Tov in the world where every woman, listen to me, who cleans the house. I think I told you once. You know, when I was, okay, bless everyone to have shown a bias, okay, stupidly I got divorced, but whatever it is. When I was married, every Friday, I was mamish helping the Ela day, mamish really, the whole time. The whole time, I didn't have time to learn even one word. And every Friday before Shabbos, Ela would tell me, it's terrible, you didn't help me at all, you're only taking care of yourself, you're taking care of every shmendik as your favor, and I'm your wife, and you don't help me. You know, the first few weeks I thought, you know, maybe something wrong with her or with me or something. And then suddenly I understood what's going on. You know what is going on? Friday, every woman has to fix the tree of knowledge, right? One of her fixing is to clean the house for Shabbos. Because remember, we were just learning it. The tree of knowledge is outside food. Tree of life is inside. Tree of knowledge is stolen food. Tree of life is inside food. And you know what it is? Where she reaches when she's doing her thing on Friday, I don't reach there. Because I, as a man, don't have to fix the same thing a woman does, right? And she mamish felt she is alone up there, right? But she is fixing, right? I started asking around all the chassidut Yidden, you know, with their wives. They told me the same thing. Their wife was always angry at them before Shabbos that they didn't help. I said, I mamish, I help all the time. I told them it's true. Because where they are reaching, we don't reach there, right? I want you to know something. I'll just make it very fast. Why did God give us the Torah? What is the covenant between us and God? Give me just 5 minutes, your deepest attention. Everybody knows there's Torah Shebiksav, the written Torah, and then there's Torah Shebapeh, the oral law, which is like what God says to Moshe, but in the deepest depths it is what we're adding. Everybody knows that Torah Shebiksav is rain. Rain is, you see where it's coming from. Torah Shebapeh is dew. You can't see when it's coming, but you just feel it suddenly. Oh, it's so good, right? Mamash, a message from heaven, right? Torah Shebapeh is on the level of dew. I know it's from heaven. Well, I can't see it, right? Because I was sitting in my room learning, and Mamash, I was so heartbroken, I don't understand the Gemara. And suddenly it's this one drop of dew, and I understand it. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to God, you give us the Torah, but one day the Torah will be translated in all the languages, so where's our covenant? So God says, my covenant between you and me and Israel is not the written Torah. The covenant between you and me is Torah Shebapeh. It's all tradition. This, right? You know, the Bible is translated for 3,000 years. Have you ever seen anybody writing a decent commentary on the Torah? Nobody. Only us. Only us. And you know what's so crazy about it? Even us, someone who doesn't mamish keep Shabbos and mamish keeps the 613 laws is not capable of adding to the Torah, with all due respect. They can fabricate some stupidity, but it doesn't go, right? Now listen to this. Shavuos is the yontiv of Torah Shabbat. You know what Pesach is? Torah Shabbat Peh. Torah Shabbat Peh is my private connection to God. And Gewalda, we adding every Pesach. And you know what it is? I want you to know the deepest depths. You know, the woman is privileged to bring children to the world. So basically, Torah Shabbat Peh is a privilege of women. Because it's giving birth to some new stuff, right? Why was the snake so eager to get Eve to eat the tree of knowledge? Because the snake wanted to destroy our connection to God. You know what my deepest connection to God is? Not just doing what God told me to do, to add. I'll tell you something very simple. I love this girl very much. So she says to me, can you give me some coffee, right? I remember one time I said to Neshama, can you give me some apple juice? And she was little. Let's say 6 years old. So she went, took like a glass, gave me apple juice, and a plate under it, and she put a little flour on the plate. You know what that was? Torah Shabbat Peh. That is the deepest, right? Torah Shabbat Peh. The adding. You see what it is? The snake came to Eve because Eve is the one who can add. And here I want you to know the deepest depth. I want this way out. You know, the Ishbitzer says, the way it's translated Chava is translated Eve. It's a cute name. Now here we have beautiful Chavala here. But how do you translate Chava? Eve. Doesn't turn me on, the name Eve. You know what Chava means? The Heilige Bes Yaakov says Chava comes from the word Yechavedos. Yechavedos means to show you something where you would never get there on your own. You would never get there on your own. So here the Ishbitzer says, which is the most awesome thing in the world, you know what Adam says to Eve? Maybe you made a mistake, I'm not going into it. But you know what you showed me? You showed me the deepest depths of life. Let me ask you, friends, is the deepest depths of life when you do everything wrong, when you do everything right? Isn't the deepest depths of life that you can do wrong and fix it? Because if I'm going to do everything right, it's sitting on Eden, right? What's the holiness of this world? You see, Adam, why was Adam so broken when he ate the tree of knowledge? Because he thought, that's it. I made one mistake, I'm out. And because of Chava, what Chava showed him? So you did wrong, you'll fix it. You'll fix it again. I want you to know something. Take all the Torah Shabbat Peh of Pesach. There is not a yontif where there's so much written. So many tshuvas, right? What are the tshuvas? The tshuvas is not when everything is right, when everything goes wrong. I had a big pot of kosher chicken soup for Pesach, and then the crumb fell in, right? Chometz. Or something else, I cooked chicken soup for whole Pesach and I left it out on the street, and I don't know, maybe somebody passed by and threw in some crumbs, right? All those crazy things, Or let's say the night before Pesach, have those 10 pieces of chomutz I put at the window, and I put 10 pieces in, then there's only 9. And I get crazy. I'm looking all over the house and I can't find it. What am I supposed to do? Call up my therapist, right? You know what life is so deep? Because we can do wrong. And you know what the Ishbitz says, the deepest depths? This is awesome. Do you know when Adam really got married to Chava? Not in paradise. When they were hiding from God. When was there a chuppah? In paradise they didn't have a chuppah, just God married them off. You know what the chuppah is? When they were sitting under the tree hiding from God. God is so deep. When do I know who my friend is? To whom I can confide when I do something wrong. It's the deepest. That is the deepest. Let me ask you, why did God make us go to Egypt and then come out? Why did we need the whole thing, right? God should have taken us, children of Abraham, bring us to the Holy Land and live happily after. You know who we would be? Robots. Nothing. Nothing. You know, a person who never did wrong in his life is nothing, it's not worth an onion. You know, Yosef HaTzadik thought he is Mashiach. You know why? He never did anything wrong. So you know what Yehuda did? He took his coat and put it in blood. You know what he was telling him? You think you become a Mashiach by doing everything right? You have to spill a lot of blood until you become a Mashiach. That's so simple. You have to make so many mistakes. You have to go through so much in your life. You know what the Haggadah is? The Haggadah is, I want you to know, the Haggadah is the story of every one of us. And even if you don't understand it, but to give us a taste, it's a story how we went wrong, how we went to Egypt, we were slaves, we came out, until we came out, how we came out. But we always come out. We always come out. And Seder night is just so good. But I just want you to know, Seder night is Mamish Torah Shabbat Peh. It is Mamish Torah Shabbat Peh. And I mentioned last night, it's written by the Yonovi. Yonovi is the one who lives forever. You know why he lives forever? I was always learning that he loves Yidden so much, he cannot leave this world until he met every Jew, so he has to stay here forever. But right now I have a different idea. He says, I cannot leave because I want to see every mistake Yidden are making. And every generation makes different mistakes. He wants so much to know the story. Like a Hitchcock story, you can't leave in the middle, right? You can't. I want you to know something. It is possible to know every word of the Torah and not be completely in this world. You know what bugs us sometimes? Someone told me, a yeshiva bucher, who mamish wanted to leave the yeshiva, wanted to leave Yiddishkeit, and Baruch Hashem, he met Zusha, then I met him, he was talking to me. Whenever he had personal problems, he would tell the Rosh Yeshiva. So she would say, listen, you just sit and learn. It's not so simple. Sure, the Torah has a lot to say, but the Torah is heavenly. The Torah has heavenly advice, but maybe not the Torah of Shalom Orchon is the answer later. You know what night is Seder is? Mamish, the depths of life. The deepest depths of life. What's happening to us in this world. How much pain we go through. How many mistakes we make. And maybe later on we have more time, but I want you to know, Seder night, you know what good education is? Good education is not only telling your children how to keep Shabbos, how to wash Nägelwasser. It's very important. Good education is to prepare your children how to make mistakes and come back. You know what Seder night is? Mamash, I'm in Egypt and I'm coming out. And you know what matzah is? Matzah is mamish healing me from all my wounds. And I just want to say one more thing, then maybe make a cute little intermission for 2 minutes. I want you to know what the Kodesh Magid says, remember when we were learning it. Why is the first thing we take the matzah and we break it? The Kodesh Magid says, a person who doesn't know that in this world the heart of every Jew is broken, then you don't know anything about life. We're not living in a world of whole hearts. We're living in a Yakar's world. But this is what makes the world so beautiful. This is what makes the world so beautiful. Anyway, thank you a million times. Forgive me for making it so long or so short, whatever it is. We're making a little intermission for a few minutes. Good. Heilige Rebbe, what's going on? How you doing, brother? Okay, I want to learn a little bit the halachos of the Seder night. Maybe we'll have to relearn it again. We'll give you pieces of paper. Okay, if I could have your sweetest attention, brothers and sisters, fine. You know the way we do it? After Pesach night, I go to shul. Then I'm taking my family for a walk to get some fresh air. Then we come home, and then my wife says, maybe let's make the table for the Seder, and then we have time. We take a little bit of rescue before, so we'll be like really relaxed. And then later on we make a Seder. How does it sound to you? I want you to know that the Seder table has to be set mamish at least by 12, by 1 o'clock. It has to be set. When the Russian Tsar comes to visit me, I don't wait till he rings the bell. Say, hey, listen, brother Tsar, I'm just about setting the table. It doesn't go this way.
I remember as a little girl that when I would wake up in the morning of Pesach, it was a treat to, as soon as I woke up, to run to see how, whenever I woke up, the table was already set.
Good.
That was the first thing my mother would do.
Has to be. According to... David is a Gewalt. David is a Rebbe.
not how we're gonna wake up now.
According, you mean once good. But then, according to some Kabbalim, you should set the table 3 days before. This is very deep. You know about Matan Torah, we had Shloishes Gemerk Bola. 3 days to prepare ourselves. But this is Torah Shabbat. And we'll go into later on. I want you to know all the preparation for Shavuos, for Pesach, is all Torah Shabbat. It says in the Torah, don't eat chometz, right? And it says, Seder night we have to eat Korban Pesach, right? The whole thing of the Seder. And the whole thing, you'll Novi writing the Haggadah for us, right? It's all Torah Shabbat. Added. So when we got to Torah Shabbat, you see, Pesach is mamish both. It's Torah Shabbat Peh and it's Torah Shabbat, right? But 3 days. I'm just giving you the most important part. But this is only the first day. But for the second day, you cannot set the Seder table during the first day for the second night. Then you have to wait till it's night. Mamish night. You know we have something very important. Do you know that on Shabbos, I am permitted to make Kiddush? Imagine someone makes Shabbos very early, from Plaka Mincha on, let's say Lichtbenchen is 6:20, and already 5 o'clock I daven Mincha and Marv, and I come home and I make Kiddush before 3 stars are showing. According to 90% of the poskim, it's 100% okay, because, you know, by Shabbos is a halacha of Tosfos Shabbos, to add to Shabbos. And also again, I don't want to repeat myself, but you have to forgive me. Remember, we're learning it, Rabbi Nachman talks about it 1,000 times. Is it on or is it the one? Oh, good. Yeah. You know, Chava, one of the fixings of the tree of knowledge is that she is benching licht. Is a woman benching licht 1 split second before the 3 stars are showing? Adding to Shabbos, right? Torah Shabbat Peh. Adding. You see what it is? The tree of knowledge is so dead. Anything dead you cannot add to. I'll tell you something. You read to me a dead Torah. What can I add? You tell me a dead story. You know what life is? It's growing. Growing is adding, right? The tree of knowledge doesn't grow. Has no smell. If you remember that the tree of knowledge has no smell. That's why we, right after Shabbos, we make psumim, because I want to be connected to the tree of life. The tree of life smells good. So on Shabbos, I can make Kiddush in Tosfos Shabbos. But when it comes to the Seder, I cannot begin the Seder before the 3 stars. You know why? Because there it says in the Torah, but Erev Tochlo Matzos. I mamish have to eat the matzah when it's done. You see, on the level of Kedushas Yom Tov, Kedusha of the day, I can add. That means when I'm makabel on myself Pesach, let's say the Holy Sisters bench licht, it's Yom Tov. So I'm not permitted to do anything else anymore. But when it comes mamish to the Seder, what's Pesach has to be night. And here's a little bit of a controversy among the poskim. What's about davening Maariv, first night of the Seder? So is this also part, because the night of Pesach, since Maariv is also part of the night, everything has to be at night, or it's just the matzah? Okay, I leave it up to you. Also, I'm sure you know this. This is very, very important. You don't sit down late afternoon by the Seder and have a big meal. You can eat something, you know. You don't have to be completely dying from hunger, you know. But basically, Pesach after 12, you don't have a meal. I mean, if you eat something, you eat something. Everybody eats something in order not to sit by the Seder and think of food. You remember what the Kuzma says, it's better to eat and think of davening than daven and think of food, you know. Yeah. Then it's very, very, very important. This is Gewalt. The Seder, the table of the Seder must have 4 feet. First of all,
4 legs.
4 legs. Yeah, I'm sorry. 4 feet, 4 legs. Yeah.
Walk out of Egypt.
Mamish. That would you have a mamish. You have to write your hagos on Shechanoch, you know. You know this to who did legatkis, you know, like this. He would hagos. Anyway. First of all, you know, I mean, those 4 feet, I don't want to get involved too much in it, but because, first of all, Dalet Ragle Shchine, you know, God's wagon, God's vehicle has 4 wheels or 4 legs. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yakar, and David HaMelech. But also, you know, the table belongs to the woman, you know, preparing the food. So it's the 4 mothers. You need 4 legs for the table. And also has, God's name has 4 letters. And also something else. The table on which you eat matzah has to stand strong. Mama strong. You know what the difference between a person in exile and a person who is free? An exiled person does everything right, but doesn't take a stand. You know what the saddest thing is? I don't want to say anything bad to be ma'aradin on Israel. What's the problem? On one hand, we're licking the goyim, right? We don't lick the Yidden so much, and we don't take a stand. We're winding our way. Take a stand. One time. You know, if Israel would say one time to the whole world, you know, go to hell. God gave us the land. They would stop. Because they would know, you know. You remember the story about this little Jewish boy who went to Catholic school and suddenly was a good student? Remember the all stupid joke? Because he saw Jesus hanging on the wall. He says, I see them mean business, you know. There's another stupid joke like this, that this Jewish boy goes to a Catholic school, in comes the priest. He says, I give you $100 if you tell me who was the greatest person in the world. So one says, Einstein, one was Kennedy, Shakespeare. Then a Jewish boy, Moshe, holds up his hand. He says, the greatest man was J.C. So the priest says, what's your name? He says, Moshe. He says, Moshe, aren't you Jewish? He says, yeah. He says, but business is business, you know. Okay. Then it's very important, everybody knows, on the table of the Seder you put 2 tablecloths. 1 tablecloth just over the table, then 1 more. I know something else, this is very, very important. That, I don't know how rich all of us are, but it's really a custom, mamish, you put all the gold and silver you possess, you put it on the table. Because the night we left Egypt, if you remember, We took all the gold and all the silver of Egypt, and you remember the story. Why was there 3 days darkness? Because God promised Abraham, then we walk out from Egypt, we'll be rich. So God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, do me a favor, I don't want chas v'sholem Abraham to be angry at me. Sheyoma oisu zoken, vavona v'ina oisum kiyamto, v'hakach yetzim choshkod loy kiyamto. Remember, God said Abraham, and said, yeah, slaves, you made them, that you kept. But to walk out rich, you didn't. So, we walked into all the Egyptian houses, give me some gold, and so said, we have nothing. But during the 3 days, listen to this, very, very important. During the 3 days of darkness, you know how strong the darkness was? They couldn't move, none the rest they couldn't see. It was heavy darkness. We walked into all the Egyptian houses, and we saw everything they have. Now listen to this. You know what blew the minds of the Egyptians? They could have stolen everything. But we didn't steal one thing. We walked into the house of the Egyptian and we said, I want to borrow some gold and silver from you. Where's Elam, right? Give it back to you. And they trusted us because they knew we are not thieves. And I want you to know something awesome. If the Egyptians would have not run after us by the Red Sea when they all drowned, maybe we would have given it back to them. I don't know. But they all drowned. But it was such a Kiddush Hashem that saw Mamish Yidden don't steal. And just imagine, there were nearly 3 million slaves, and not one of them, take today, the way the world is, when it's dark, they steal, and who knows what they're doing. We would have a strong claim, you're making slaves out of us, you haven't paid us anything for 210 years, right? Not one thing was missing, right? Okay, but say tonight, I want you to know this is Zer Kodesh. What's the difference between a slave and a prince? A slave takes and a prince receives. He didn't want to take, wanted to receive. And also, you see what it is. We didn't take freedom. Freedom is not something you can take. Freedom is a gift from heaven. You have to receive it. Wow, right? I know there are hundreds of stories about the Heilige Rishnik, who Mamash had a lot of gold and silver. Mamash, God. Then he said, we were learning it, this is Mamash beautiful, this is Mamash for all the holy Hippolach. It's a custom that you put a lot of incense on the Seder. I don't know what you're doing, but it's beautiful to put incense and flowers on the Seder table.
Mamish incense burning?
Obviously, not just to look at, No, he's right. Yeah. Yeah, but this seems to be his father's minig, yeah. Ah, now he talks. Yeah, Peter McTorris. Okay. However, this is very, very beautiful. This is for you, Dovidler, to Dovidler. If someone had the privilege of writing a sefer, so this is my Rechush Gadol, right? I'm walking out of Egypt with all the Torah I learned, everything I learned from all my sad days of slavery. So all the pain I went through, I learned so much. Or imagine someone keeps a diary of all his mamish, the Shoma traveling, right? So you put this also on the Seder Shus. Because the question is, after you walk out into freedom, what did you gain by it, right? I gained so much, I learned so much. And if you wrote it down, you put it on the Skivalt, right? Then something very special. Imagine you have domestic help, and then, you feel like going to the beauty parlor Erev Pesach and you tell your domestic help, can you please get to say the table for the Seder together? No. I mean, in emergency, but mamish, it's the greatest privilege. It is the greatest privilege to do it yourself. I'm not sure now, but something, I remember something, that the Heilige Rishon himself would put all the gold and silver on the Seder, on the table. Then there's something very special. Again, I don't want to press anyone or say anything, but basically it says that all the holy women who prepare the table of the Seder should go to the mikveh before. Sigevals, you know. I know in Bobov, the Heilige Rebbetzin, I remember Erev Pesach, when the Bobov Rebbe came, they made a mikveh. So, mamash, I remember Erev Pesach, we go to the mikveh, then suddenly was a big sign by the mikveh. From 2 to 4, the Rebbetzin is going to the mikveh. You know? Gewalt, right? So, if you can. Okay. And there's one more very, very important thing. 1 second. One second. We have time. I want to just learn one more very important thing. Then I would like to learn a little bit more insight. You have to wear white by the Seder. You mamish have to. That means women should wear white dresses. Again, I mean, you if you don't have to, if you don't have it, you have it. But if you can. And men should wear a kittel. But this is, again, like, only after they get married. And I really don't know why, but this is what it is. Okay, here are two Torahs, which are very, very important. One say that you wear a kittel. You know, when do you wear a kittel? God forbid, we should all live long and happy. But God forbid, if a person dies, what is he wearing? A kittel, right? White. So Seder night, and I want you really, this is the deepest. Seder night, you're wearing a kittel. On an outside level, let's remind ourselves, you know, when we think of God forbid leaving this world, it's not to make me sad, but to make me aware that you have to do something while you're here. You remember we were learning that on one hand, it's heartbreaking that we don't live forever. On the other hand, just imagine, I would live forever, right? I meet a girl, I like her very much, take her number, and I says, you know, I think I'll call you in 100,000 years. I live forever, right? I have time, right? How does it sound to you? What's the rush? In the morning or the afternoon, right? I want to learn the whole Shas. What's the rush? I tell Dovitul, you know, 2 million years from now, let's meet in Yerushalayim, and we'll learn. On one hand, it's heartbreaking that we're not living forever. On the other hand, life became so much more concentrated. Because it's so deep, you know. Life has become so much more deep. in a certain deep way. So Seder night, we are wearing a white kittel to remind ourselves that, but then I don't like this so much. It's a little bit, I mean, I'm sitting there with the Seder, thinking, oh, you're very gewalt, 100 years from now. God forbid, doesn't sound good to me. This is really good. Remember, we are learning the whole time that Pesach is the tree of life. You know why we wear white when we leave this world? And really I want you to open your hearts, it's the deepest. There's a whole machloikis in the Zohar. What were the colors of our three holy fathers? According to one, in the Zohar Kodesh says that Avraham Avinu's color was tcheles, was blue. Yitzchak was red, and Yakar was green. And there's a whole Torah, Rabbi Shlomo, the silent Rebbe, his color was green. Green is growing. And there's a whole Torah thing, I shared it with you. His grandson was also called Rabbi Shlomo, who was like his grandfather. Awesome. And this is a diary which was written by his daughter. It was never printed, and I only had the privilege to get this diary for one night. One of the Burgenler gave it to me. I had to promise him I'll give it back the next morning. I tried to read as much as I could. So she writes like this. Everybody knows that my Zayder, Amanda the Burger, his color was green. Everything in the house was green. And she says, my holy father was named after my Zayder, Elter Zayder. Everything is green. God bless you. Then she says, my holy mother died. Her mother was so beautiful. When she spoke, it was so soft and so sweet. And I don't want to say anything bad. In those days, Rebbe's Nebuch, especially when Nebuch, Rebbe's wife died and leaves him with a few children, then the chassidim got together and they marry him off as another Rebbe's daughter, So one day my father came. He says I was 8. And he comes and he says, I got married again. And the woman walks in. First of all, her voice. Whew. So loud and so... I couldn't understand how my father could marry such a woman. And then she says, she walks us down, she says, I don't like green. So she says, 8 years old little girl, she says, I knew right away that she is not my father's soulmate. Unbelievable. And then she writes that every night I was crying in my sleep. I couldn't understand how my father can live with such a woman. She didn't give any ounce of cover to my father. She mistreated us, the children. She didn't hit us, but it was terrible. And I couldn't understand my father. And I saw Mama, she's completely never withdrawn. She's so broken. One day, she wasn't there anymore. And that night, for the first time again, my father came to sit on my bed. And he says to me, I know how much you have suffered. I just want you to know I divorced her today. Because she was not my soulmate. She said, I was so proud of my father. I was so proud. Then she says, I was already 9. One day my father came with another woman. Oh, it was so beautiful. Her voice was so sweet. And when she walked in, her mama, she knew she is my new mother. And my father says to her, what's your favorite color? She says, green. Ah. It's my father's soulmate. So sweet, It's unbelievable. Awesome. I don't know why they never gave it to be printed, It's the sweetest. See, it's not miracles of the rabbis, but like Mamish, the down-to-earth, the family life, it's so sweet, So Yakar was green. But then there's another shit in the Zohar, which is awesome, that the Avraham Avinu was white. Yitzchak, everybody agrees, is red. Din. And Yaakov is tcheles. Anyway, what's white all about? You know what we do? We paint our face all the time. Basically, white is not a color. White is not. White is. Red is a color. Green is a color. White is not a color. It's beyond all colors, right? You know what paganism is? And I'm not talking about idol worship to bow down before a piece of wood. Nobody's doing that. You know what the Pshischa says? Imagine that the Pshischa Torah. Someone asked him, what's real pagan? What means don't worship idols today? He says, I tell you, he says. He said to this, obviously it was something. He says, you want to be a rebel, right? That means you want people to think that you're a holy man. And here you're sitting Friday night, and your wife gives you soup, and you're burning up to have a second time soup. But then you say, hey, I want people to think I'm holy. So he says, no, Shabbos, I'm eating 2 plates. Right? This is endless of paganism, he said. You worship yourself. You paint yourself as something you're not. That's paganism. You know, all of us, we have painted faces. You know what Seder night is, going out of exile? To wash off all the paint. I don't want to say anything bad, but you know, look at around today. This one is painted Orthodox, this one is painted conservative, this one is painted Reform. It's all paint. It's stupid paint, right? You maybe wash them off. It'll be all the same, right? It's all paint. Someone told me an unbelievable story. He said getting involved in conservative reform. There was a big convention, and first was this Orthodox rabbi, and the conservative rabbi, and then the Reform rabbi. The Reform rabbi once learned in Masifta Torah Das. His mind was sharpened. So he says to the Reform rabbi, who's your president? He points out to this Yid. He says, hey. He says, are you driving Shabbos morning to the synagogue? He says, yes. Then he says to the conservative, who's your president? He says, this one. He says, are you driving? You gotta go. I'll miss you. Could you give me your number? Good. Thank you for coming. Are you bringing her tomorrow? Better. Okay, but thank you anyway. You hear, friends? He's very clever. So then the Reform rabbi said to the Orthodox rabbi, who's your president? And he says, Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, how do you get Shabbos morning to the synagogue? He get all red in the face. Anyway, he admitted he was driving till 2 blocks before the shul. So he says, what are we fooling each other? What are we fooling each other, he says. Why don't we make peace, you know? He says, does anybody here think we shouldn't keep Shabbat? You think my president doesn't know that you shouldn't drive on Shabbat? And doesn't your president from your Orthodox shul know that you shouldn't drive on Shabbat? But anyway, it was a good meeting. All this paint, right? I want you to know something. Sometimes you meet people, they're so painted, you know. What's the most beautiful thing? When you meet a real person without paint. No paint. I'm sure we have it. You know, children have no paint yet. until, God forbid, Mamish will send them to school, or they have to have the paint of a good student, or they have to have the paint of a Gewalt student, or they have to have the paint of a wild student. It's all paint. Seder night we were white. I want you to know, paint smells for death. Because anything which isn't for real doesn't last. And here comes the deepest Torah. And basically, you know, it's the Torah from Ishbitz. It's so deep. I don't want to get involved in, it's a play on words. But he says the Kohen is blessing us that the brachas shouldn't be painted. God blesses us all the time. But when you are painted, God sends you a painted bracha. The bracha is the way, what level you are, that's how the blessing comes. So it says that the blessing of the Kohen is that the bracha should be mamish for real. You know what means a painted bracha? It's not really a bracha. Just looks like one, right? You know how many times we are disappointed because we thought it's the greatest thing which happened to us? Then it wasn't. It was just paint. Well then, the deeper steps. Seder night we mamish abolish death. Because the moment we eat the matzah, who's the tree of life, and then suddenly I realize I don't have to wear the kittel anymore after 100 years. From now on, the kittel, on the contrary, this kittel becomes a symbol of life. The kittel, you know, I remember I always tell people, why does a chosn wear a kittel by the chuppah? You know what he says to the color? Because of you, I never eat the tree of knowledge, because the first Chava made me eat the tree of knowledge. Because my Chava give me only food from the tree of life. So I don't have to wear the kittel after I leave, after 100 years. On the contrary, I'm wearing it now to the wedding. But then here comes the Sochot Shabbat Torah, which is a little bit moral and a little bit Sochot Shabbat. You know who wears white? The high priest when he walks into the Holy of Holies. You know what that means? You know what it means the Holy of Holies? It's a little bit like the first Torah, to be so real. You know, when Aaron HaKohen walks into the Holy of Holies, why doesn't he ask for forgiveness? Because when he walked into the Holy of Holies, it's clear to him, if I did something wrong, it didn't come from the deepest depths of me. It didn't come from the real me. It was outside stuff. The world made me do it, the environment, or the stupidity I picked up. Seder night, I'm almost like the high priest in the Holy of Holies. But then he adds something more. You know, children are completely untouched by the world yet. So their heart is mamish the Holy of Holies. So Seder night, when I'm giving over to my children that there is one God, I mamish have to wear white like the high priest. This is the way to go out, right? Because everybody knows the whole Seder is to give over to my children God knowledge. You see, on Shavuos, I'm teaching Torah to my children. But my children don't ask me first. They're just passive. They're learning, I teach them. Seder night. Oh, Seder night is so deep, Mamish. Because, you know something? When I want to tell something very, very deep to a person, I cannot walk up to him and tell them, I want to tell you something very, very deep. But if they ask me, means their heart is open, then I can tell them the deepest, deepest depths of the Torah. The deepest, deepest, deepest depths of Yiddishkeit is Ani v'le malach, ani v'le sof, ela Kodesh Baruch Hu ba'atzma. There is one God. So the Heilige Sofer says that Seder night is mamish when we give over to our children. And you know what it is with Aaron HaKohen? You know, Moshe Rabbeinu gives us a Torah. What's Aaron HaKohen calling out the Shem HaMeforish? Because Aaron HaKohen is the master of giving us over God knowledge. Shem HaMeforish. Yeah?
So according to what the Sefer says, is that maybe the reason why it was Ketorah on the table?
That could be, yeah, 100%. And obviously we have gold also, because some of the begonim of the coin were basically gold, yeah. Hey, we have the highest guest in the world. Come here, I missed you so much. He's the cutest brother in the world. Hey, אתה זוכר אותי? כן. אתה יודע כמה אני אוהב אותך? אתה רוצה לשבת על ידי או מאבא או איתי?
לידך.
He is the cutest brother. Come here. אין לך מושג, אני כל כך שמח לראות אותך. אז שב על ידי, קרוב ממש. טוב, אוי. טוב. Michael, what's going on? We have only 5 minutes, but who cares? Okay, then we have a few more minutes, yeah? This is also very important, and we may not have a chance to learn the whole thing. But everybody knows Seder night, when we eat, you have to lean on the left side. And this is so strong that according to most, imagine I eat matzah and I didn't lean. And then suddenly, after Afikomen, Seder night, I go to sleep, and I realize I didn't eat matzah leaning. I have to get up, put my pants on again, wash my hands, and after eat matzah again, and make alachilas matzah. Yeah. Gewalt. Okay, maybe we'll learn this tomorrow, but I just want to give you a taste. When you eat more, you don't have to lean back. Because more is a symbol of slavery. So you don't have to lean back. When it comes to koyach, it's really machlokes. Because we eat more and matzah. Because of the more, I shouldn't lean. God bless you. Because of the matzah, I should. But basically, most poskim agree that by koyach, when I put matzah and the more together, I should lean. But then there's again a big controversy. Besides the matzah, okay, by karpas, the first thing you eat, radishes, you don't have to lean back. Only from the feast on. The question is, do you have to have the whole feast leaning back? That means the Haseva is mamish the whole, everything Seder night besides more has to be done by Haseva, or it's just like matzah and the Afrikaner. Okay, now I just want to give you one sweet Torah. Basically, Haseva is really a little bit arrogant, right? I'm sitting here like I'm the Tsar of Russia. Oh, this is so deep and so beautiful, Amish. You know what our problem is? We don't know anymore what humility is, and we don't know what arrogance is. Have no idea. We always do it at the wrong time. We are arrogant at the wrong time, and we are humble at the wrong time. You know something? If I am arrogant, God bless you. Just remember what the Belzer Rebbe said, we learned 1,000 times. When God gives you something, you can be proud of it. When you do something, you should be humble about it. If I were to tell you, I want you to know I got out of Egypt, was my idea. I gave God the idea of getting out of Egypt. It wasn't your idea. Mama should gift from God. So here, a lot of rabbis say that. that what we need fixing most is our arrogance. And the Gemara says, Kolam is goy, kilo ovid avodah zarah. When you're arrogant, it's like worshiping idols. You make yourself bigger than you are, right? Just remember, friends, Seder night is the utmost wiping out of idol worship. Egypt was a seat hall of pagan worship. And Seder night, I'm getting out of every billionth ounce of pagan worship. And one of the most terrible pagan worships is I'm worshiping myself, making myself arrogant. But mamish haseber, yeah, I'm sitting arrogant, but with so much holiness. Seder night when the Yid leans back. It's not me, Shlomo, being big. It's not Moshe, it's not Yanko. It's mamish Yidden thanking God, Moshe, Master of the world. Mamish, thank you so much for making kings out of us. Taking slaves and making kings out of us. What a privilege. And it has nothing to do with the Torah. I just want to mention my father. I think I shared with you, when we were little kids in Vienna, one day my brother came home and he was crying. Must have been maybe 6 years, 7 years old. And said enough, it began already. He says, I walk on the street and kids yell at me, called me dirty Jew. I was crying. And he says to my father, was I supposed to call them back dirty goy? And my father put my brother on his knee, I always remember it. And my brother says to him, you know, if he calls you dirty Jew, and you call him back dirty goy, then you're the same like him. So my father says to him, you know, a slave, when someone assaults him, he gets wild and it's his back. A prince ignores it. Because the moment you respond, it means it reached you. You're not prince. Someone calls you dirty Jew? Okay. He doesn't know what a Jew is, I'm sorry. You know, Seder night, we're mamish Yidden, you know. And not this stupid American talk, I'm proud to be a Jew. Stupid, right? I mean, mamish. V'yigba liba b'daka Hashem. You know what Rabbi Nachman says? Do you need more arrogance than praying, telling God what you need? Talking to God and believing that He listens to you? Isn't that the most awesome arrogance? And you know what the biggest, most awesome arrogance is? Torah Shabbat Peh. Here Moshe Rabbeinu brings down the Torah from heaven, and I, 3,800 years later, I'm adding to the Torah. I'm so sorry. Should I hold you more strong? Okay? The Magish Tov, okay? Okay, Tov. You hear, friends? You know, it's not to be believed. Rabbi Shlomo was talking about it a lot of times. You know, Tosis asked the question, it doesn't answer. In 1,000 years after Tosis, I can give a tale. Isn't that arrogance? But Gewalt, what a holy arrogance. Gewalt, you know. So he says his savor is mamish the deepest fixing of arrogance. Then there's a whole big Torah if a waiter is supposed also to eat the haseber. Because maybe a waiter, because he's serving you, say the night, so maybe he's really a little bit of a slave, right? There's a whole controversy for the poskim. Well, then they said that if the master of the house insists they should eat haseber, that means you're not my slave, right? gewalt, right? And
No women.
women, no, listen to me, this is unbelievable. Yeah, gewalt. But today, all the women are choshev, yeah. He says, Mamish, very down to earth. There was a time that said, women were not so important. So, the women were not sitting lean. But today, he says, every woman has enough pride that she can eat Passover. It's unbelievable. The Shlomo, I mean, the poskim.
Is that also in a sense saying that there was a time when women weren't suffering from the negative pride that men were? So
Could
they
also
didn't
be.
need to lean because they didn't need to
Yeah,
fix
possible, yeah, could be.
it.
Yeah, I tell you what, you're 100% right. You know what it is? Because the women, since they didn't make the golden calf, because isn't this the biggest arrogance to say that you know who God is? What a chutzpah, right? Today, have you ever seen those missionaries, they come and talk to you and they say, I know God. Do you know God? Sometimes I walk on the street and a cute little missionary comes up to me and he says, you know God? What? What a chutzpah, right? Can you imagine the Rabbi Shlomo coming up and he says, you know anything about God? I know God. I once walked on the street when I was still close to Lubavitch. I walked on Eastern Parkway, and there a little Yiddish, like Moshe the tailor, asked me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Lubavitch Rebbe. He says, Rabbi Schneerson? I said, yes. He says, I know the guy. You know what it means, you know the guy? I know his name, I know where he lives, right? You call it, I know the guy, right? What does he know, right? So I know there was one God, I know where he lives, hopefully. So you're right, because the women did not make the Egel Azov, their pride maybe was never so violated like by us men said, It's true, there's a whole thing, and I don't know, according to psychology, but who is more into bragging, men or women? Ilana, you jump this. Let's learn one more thing. We have a few more minutes. Can to lech? Yeah, where's he going? Ah, good. Okay, this is very important. When you sit with your Rebbe, you need mamish permission from your Rebbe to tell you to sit Passover. But if the Rebbe didn't give you permission, then you should not lean. This is also very important. Listen to me. When we wash and we eat matzah, you have to eat 2 kisesim. One for hamoitzi lechem and oretz, right? Because it's moitzi, right? And then for matzah, right? First you make hamoitzi lechem and oretz. Yamuchuy v'edimon kizai. Then you say alachiras matzah. Just remember, the first time you eat matzah, you have to eat mamish 2 kisesim. Some people take a little crumb and they think they're yotze. Has to be mamish a big piece. The question is only the first kazais I eat for hamoitzi lechem and oretz, and the second kazais I eat for achilas matzah. Do I have to eat the first kazais also by Passover? Because this I'm not eating it on the level of matzah, I'm just eating it on the level of bread. I said hamoitzi lechem and oretz. So it's a big machlokes haposkim. But one thing they agree, that if, you're back, but you hear, friends? Everyone at the poskim agrees, if I didn't eat that Passover, I don't have to start over again. But I should. What is afikomen? Afikomen mamish, afikomen you have to eat Pesach. But again, there's a big controversy. If you ate the first kezayis of matzah Pesach, and then you realize you didn't eat afikomen Pesach, if you have to go back and eat Pesach or not. But this is only before benching. After the benching, that's it, and it's finished. The four cups you have to drink cleaning back. Yeah. Okay, just, I know we don't have time right now to go into it. Everybody knows that the 4 cups are for the 3 matzahs, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yakar, and the 4 cups of wine are for the 4 holy mothers. Sorah. Okay, the first, when I make Kiddush, I mamish declare there is one God. Sorah was mamish the master of non-pagan. Of non-pagan. She's the wife of Avraham, non-pagan. And what you know, something awesome deep which is cutting right through. You know, Sarah was so beautiful, right? Sarah looked exactly like Chava before she was driven out of paradise. So Sarah could have been have false pride, you know? Sarah was mamish completely cleansed from pride. You know, Avraham Avinu said to Sarah, was that getting him out in the depths? Hineno yudati ki isha yefas ta'at. He said to Sarah, I want you to know that I know how beautiful you are. Not so simple, right? So the first cup of wine is mamish, the cup of our Holy Mother Sarah. And you know why Sarah, by our Holy Mothers, all the Yiddishkeit comes from our 4 Holy Mothers? Because our 4 Holy Mothers cleansed the deepest depths of our being. Okay, Sarah is cleansing us from pagan worship. Then comes Rivka. This is all Torah. Rivka was the biggest master of knowing what is truth and what's a lie. It's a little like when I learned before. You know, Asaph, when he came to the house of Yitzchak, you think he walked around with a whip? He walked around with a streimel and a big gavel, right? Ah, Rivka saw the facts, not true, right? And you know something? That I don't get involved in Yaakov and Asaph, but everybody knows that Asaph, the Gemara says the Mashiach is coming, Asaph will sit down next to Yaakov. And nobody will believe it's Asaph. But then the Rabbi will come and he throws him out. That means it's mamish heavenly to look through all this is all a lie, right? I mean, take civilization today, you know, Asaph. Looks so beautiful, so human, gewalt, right? The biggest fake in the world, right? America, right, was there, democracy, right? I once heard a rabbi, should forgive me, he says, the Torah is beautiful, but now that we have a democracy, we don't need the Torah anymore, right? First of all, stupidly, if there's anything good democracy, because it's based on the Torah. But just, Rivka is the master of the truth. She's the master of brachas. Means Rivka knows exactly, Rivka knows who is the one to lead the world and who's not good to lead the world. Rochel, everybody knows, is a Keres Habayis. Rochel is the master of Parnasa. Remember, Yosef HaTzadik was feeding the whole world. Basically, Yosef HaTzadik, you know, Rochel Imenu is a Keres Habayis. She was. Do you know how they divided the household by Yaakov Avinu? Rachel was in charge of the kitchen, and Leah was in charge of the children. Leah was in charge of the diapers, and Rachel was in charge of the food. I mean, this is down to earth, right? In heaven, this is the deepest depths, right? Okay, so the third cup is a Holy Mother Rachel. Parnosa. You know, mamish. Parnosa not only physical, what they eat. Rachel knows the secret, what keeps me alive. We all need something which should keep us alive. The question is this mamish what you need? We were learning before, like chomotzomatsu, right? You know, you can have everything, and inside be completely empty. Completely empty. You know, it says, Kim miyotcha leya absucha, right? You know what God's, when you eat, when you are blessed by God, parnosa comes from God, then your heart is so full. It's possible to have everything and be completely empty. A Holy Mother Rachel is the master, mamish, of filling your heart. Mamish, filling us up. Then comes the Holy Mother Leah. Leah is the master of redemption. She is the mother of Mashiach. What do we know, right? Okay, folks, anybody wants to tell me something? Well, nobody want to say something fast. Or slow. Don't tell me anything.
One thing I was thinking of, and maybe it's something we can focus on a little bit tomorrow. You had said earlier about the woman and the fixing she does in the house and so on, and many different people you spoke to that say, you know, they feel like they're helping.
Yeah.
And because you said that Pesach was so much inside, and how Pesach is you have to have a house for it, and I thought that the thing is that, I mean, for the most part, the man, I mean, symbolically, maybe today in the world less so than before, most of what he's doing that affects the house, he's doing outside of the house.
Yeah.
And so you don't really see it. And the woman who's in the house, in a sense, is working it inside, and you see everything. Everything shows. It's inside, and yet it all shows. And he's sort of all outside, and yet you don't see any of it. You know, when you're inside. And so, I mean, I was really struck by that, and then the role that somehow when you brought that up about the leaning, made me think more of that, to understand what that's about, of when we do things on the inside and it shows on the inside, or how many of them are trying to do things on the inside and we want it to show on the outside, or people trying to do things on the outside and I don't know, there was something there that seemed to hit
You sure you want to say something? Maybe you have some fast talk for me, huh?
I just noticed that I was thinking about the four legs of the table.
Yeah?
So that we know that the only thing that'll change, like the alphabet, is the words will give their life order. And the only thing that'll change in the alphabet in terms of Mashiach is that the shin, instead of having 3 legs, will have 4 legs.
Uh-huh.
So it's on Seder night, we want to connect to that Torah, that you're talking about, the Torah of the Mashiach. This Torah Shabbat that goes beyond where we are right now. That connects us to that
Very nice.
that infinite place.
Go out.
I mean, with the lesson that we have to start with the physical. We have to bring things into the world by starting with action.
What do you say, Micha? Anything? Yeah? Heilige Rebbe Reb Meir, Heilige Rebbe Reb Miki. Tell us anything good, Gewalt.
I'd like to ask a question.
What? Who? Yeah? You want to ask me something? Or you want to tell me something? Yeah? Oh, I'd be so honored if you ask me. למה מה? מדוע פרעה רצה שהיהודים יהיו עבדים שלו? אני אשאל אותך שאלה פשוטה, מדוע גנב רוצה להיות גנב? מדוע גנב רוצה להיות גנב? בגלל שהלב שלו הוא לא טהור. אדם שלא טהור, שהוא מלא רע בלב, הוא רוצה רק להרחיב לאחרים. אז פרעה לא מאמין בבני אדם, הוא רק מאמין שהוא צריך לעשות כסף, הכל בשלו. אצל פרעה שום אדם לא קיים, רק הוא קיים לבד. הוא רואה אותם, כולם היו מושחתים לגמרי, לצערי הרב. אבל ברוך השם עכשיו, אחרי שיצאנו ממצרים, לאט לאט אנחנו מתקנים את העולם, אני מקווה. גם אתה תתקן את העולם, נתן. אתה יודע החילוק? אנחנו, עם ישראל, אנחנו ממש נותנים לתוך העולם, מאירים לתוך העולם שבן אדם אדם הוא דמותו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. בצלם אלוקים. אתה מבין נתן? אצל פרעה אדם היה כמו חמור או סוס. רק יש לו שכל וחמור אין לו שכל. אבל בעצם הוא אותו הבריאה. אז חמור עובד. אדם שהוא גם כן יעבוד בשבילי. וכך בא משה רבנו ולימד אותם לא. אדם הוא נברא בצלם אלוקים. אבל אני נורא שמח שאתה שואל אותי. Someone told me that his kid asked him, how could they leave Egypt if they had a job? You know? Anyone to say something fast or slow? Okay, that's it. Untitled is tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you.